The Black Garden by Darklaw. In the heart of night where shadows dance, there blooms a garden, rich and vast, a place where love and truth entwine, entangled roots and vines divine. Beneath the moon's soft silver light lies hidden paths to endless night. Here whispers echo, raw and deep, of love once lost and secrets keep. In every petal, stories bloom of passion's fire and tender doom. The thorns may pierce, the darkness calls, yet in this garden no one falls. For in the shadows truth is found, in whispers soft, yet so profound. The black garden, where hearts are bared, a place where souls are deeply shared. In the deep dark soil of night lies seeds of hope, of wrongs made right. Here in this garden, lovers learn that from the ashes they can burn. With every step the light may fade, yet in this place foundations laid. The black garden where love takes root in soil rich with life's pursuit. Through storms and winds, the petals cling, and in the darkness, hearts will sing. For here in shadows, truth does start, the black garden where we find our heart.
There once was a place enchanting your darkest desires. There once was a road that crossed all your tranquility. A fight for true love, a fall for timeless lust, secrets of the labyrinth, destroyed bonds at the glance in a mirror. Hearts closed, thorns in prison, a spirit hardened. Rise up, warrior, confess your truth. Join us inside Black Garden.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Decree of Dominion podcast with their host, Darklaw. And we have a special guest for you guys on episode 6 of the brand new Black Garden series launching in September of 2024. We have Mr. Terraine from Behind the Shades podcast out of Toronto, not Drake, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And so how you doing, Terraine?
I am doing well, and to the Kendrick fans, Drake is not like me, and I'm not like him, so they're not like us.
Amen, amen. And so can you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Terraine for those who are joining us today, and I'm a relationship mentor. So what does that mean? That means that I work with women to find success and happiness in the 3 pillars of a relationship. So that is personal, professional, and romantic. So many of the women that I work with have been traumatized or abused in one way or another, and I am here to provide the light at the end of the tunnel for them.
Amen. So again, those followers of Decree of Dominion and the Exalted, buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride. Appreciate you guys joining us inside Black Garden. And before we get started, I always start off with saying this. Everything that's spoken here today will not resonate, but I hope that you take one thing that you can apply daily to your life and to become the best version of yourself and to create a dominion of your own mind. And for those of you that follow the Winner Circle, make sure you follow the Blemish Beauty podcast, the Verbal Tea podcast, Mahogany Speaks, Breaking the Silence, and Real Talk Monday as well. And so without further ado, welcome to the Black Garden. And so, Terraine, can you first tell us, how you got started with your coaching and mentoring practice?
Absolutely. So the reason why I got into it, actually, let's take it way back, my friend Darian. So I got into it because I was going through a difficult situation trying to find love in all the wrong places like so many other people. So I wanted to figure out what was going wrong because I know that the only constant in that equation was myself. So I did some hard work, I did some reflection, and then ultimately what led me here is to remember what it was like to do it all on my own with very little help sometimes. So I wanted to be the help that I wish that I had to so many other people. So that's how I started, and that's why I do what I do today.
Also, you said a great point there. You said the common denominator or the constant was yourself. And so I want to encourage the viewers as you listen to this episode here today, um, it all begins and ends within you. You know, that you can read as many self-help books, you can get as many mentors and coaches and YouTube videos and um, those powwow quotes. But if you're not willing to change yourself, then nothing's going to change. They always say if nothing changes, nothing changes, right? And so,
I agree.
you work mostly with women. And so, can you tell the viewers kind of like your niche age range or what niche do you focus on within the women that you mentor?
Yes, so my age range for the one I work with are 35 and older, and in many cases they're over the age of 40. And this gives me a unique perspective, and here's why. As someone that's in my mid 30s now, it lets me know how things were in the previous generation, as well as to see how things are going to be with this group of women that I work with. So my niche is very interesting to a man of my age, and I would say men in general, because you have that group of people that are caught in the middle. They remember how dating was before dating apps, and now they have to get used to dating with the dating apps. And many times they are either separated, divorced, or they've come out of a long-term relationship, aka LTR. So to see how they're navigating the dating system and the dating market is definitely interesting to me. So that is my group and my demographic of people that I assist.
Awesome, awesome. And so again, if you're a woman over 35, buckle up. It's going to be a raw wide inside the Black Garden. And so first thing I want to discuss is what are I know you said going from dating without the apps and now going into the apps. What are some common misconceptions that you see on like social media and the dating apps that people just kind of hone in and own, but aren't necessarily true when you work with them?
That the good-looking guy is a nice guy, that that hot girl is everything that you think she's going to be and more, but there's layers to it, right? So if you look at, like, let's say men and women, so men and women come with their own unique challenges, right? So you look at women's perspective is that they want to establish a lifestyle that maybe was a lot different from their mothers previously and their grandparents. So you have like women rebelling against that. I don't want to be a stay-at-home mother. I don't want to do this. I want to do that, even though in a lot of ways it's their nature to do so because they're nurturing, they're empathetic, they're sympathetic. And then on the flip side, you have men that want to stand up and be everything that she would want him to be, but they're kind of lost because they haven't figured out who they want to be for themselves yet. So what I found with the dating apps is that you have two groups of people who are able to hide some of the insecurities over the app through well posed and well filtered and well creative pictures versus those who used to do it in person. You can smell a fraud right from the beginning. So helping women and to some men to a degree understand that and to navigate that, but most importantly to protect themselves from those who are trying to pull the wool over their eyes and make sure that mask doesn't fall off and reveal themselves is somewhat of a challenge for them to understand. But that's where I come in and I help.
Awesome, awesome. You speak a lot. For those of you that do follow a Christian-based background, you speak of the spirit of discernment, right? Or just a spirit of awareness, right? Being aware and also being able to, spot and having the knowledge to say, wait a minute, this isn't adding up, or oh, he said he made six figures, but he doesn't have a car. Or, why am I always picking you up? And you said you make, you have to put two and together, right? If it doesn't make sense, make it make sense. That's what they always say. At least the older generation, let's make it make sense. And so, um, that's a good point you made because they always say the good old saying goes, the wolf in sheep's clothing, right? Trying to, hide your flaws and, put on a persona. And have you seen an increase in that wolves and sheep clothing behavior just because of the social media and the dating app age?
Yes, I have. So what has happened in dating is that we've gone from providers and receivers to givers and takers. So I'll give an example, Darion. So you have people that are going to be, as you mentioned, right, the wolves and sheep clothing. So they'll take and they take and they take. Women by nature are givers on an emotional level. And let's say if you're on a spiritual level as well, right, since you mentioned the religion aspect. But let's stick to they're givers on an emotional level, and men are receivers. Why is that? Because men are givers on a security and a safe space level, when women are receivers. So now what has happened is you have a lot of men who have not grown up despite their age. They're 30, they're 40, they're 50, they're 60. They date women that are emotional givers and they abuse that in some way. So now instead of growing up and out of their adolescence, they've gone from their mother to a woman who has become their second mother. And women who instinctively want to give, want to nurture, want to say, it's okay, I see the potential in him. They haven't allowed these men to grow because now they take advantage of it because they're better at hiding it. What would have happened previously is men would have known what they're capable of at a younger age. So by the time they have to go into the wilderness, into the wild, they have an idea of what they're going to make of themselves. And the women will be there to inspire them, to support them. And women were a lot better at discerning what type of man that they wanted. But because many times they're being manipulated in a way, they don't know what they don't know. So they're taking a lot of men based on their potential, but unfortunately, those men have hidden agendas. And on the flip side, you have a lot of women that are telling you that they're girlfriend, wife, long-term relationship material, but deep down, they're just there to exhaust your resources and to always play the quote-unquote city girl. I'm going to be out in the club. I'm going to be doing this. I don't have time to be at home. I don't have time to. We all have to make sure that we're not setting individual goals that are interfering with our together goals.
Oh, well, you packed a lot out of that. I hope you guys are tuning in and listening. He just dropped some good nuggets there. First thing he said, that second mother, I want to break that down real quick on that second mother because just as we grow older, there's actually one of my favorite songs. It's like a metal song, but one of the excerpts from it is thousands of years and what have we learned? And that's just, again, I'll say that again, thousands of years, which is civilization in general, humanity in general, and what have we learned? And that second mother's um, story that you just told and idea, it resonates a lot in today's society because, I don't watch the news a lot, but we always can, look on Google or scroll on, social media. There's like, this man, 30, 40, committed this horrific act, or, why is, you're seeing these videos or even in person, like, why is this guy acting like that? He's, grow up, right? They always say, grow up. You're like 40, dude. Like, why you act like that? And you just broke it down because, it's a place of constant, victimhood, right? Again, so like, a lot of us in the African American community, specifically speaking, just because we both are African American, but a lot of us grew up in single parent homes with just a mother, and so um, everybody doesn't have that strong willed woman that can play both, fill both roles because it's not meant to be filled by just one or the other. And so, like you said, you go from, hey, from 0 to 18, my mom did everything the best she could. She did everything. And then as you start dating relationship, if you're not growing up, if you're not developed in those other areas, you essentially seek out, like you said, a second mother. You seek out a woman that can treat you or has the same emotional giving, if you will, that their mother had, and then you're kind of just stuck in endless maze of timeless unrest. And so, how do you, a good question, I know the viewers are like, hey, that's me, or hey, I've seen that a lot. How do you like break that cycle, and how do you, mentor folks on that?
The first step is to acknowledge that you have something that needs to be changed, right? But I'll take it a little step back to what you said. If you give someone the opportunity to coast through life, a lot of people are going to coast through life. And that's what a lot of men who are in this situation do, right? They coast from woman to woman to woman because they know the type of woman that's going to take care of them in that way. They're going to do what? They're going to use them for their car, they're going to use them for their money, they're going to use them for their time, and they don't ever commit to them because they know that they're not able to provide what they truly need, and that is someone to provide them guidance because that man doesn't know the guidance. So back to your question, when men and women are asking, what can I do to overcome some of the trauma of my childhood, or maybe some of the lack of guidance, is to first understand what is it that you want and how are you going to get out of there? How are you going to get out of it without getting it from someone else? You have to get it from yourself. So are you safe around yourself? Are you happy with yourself? Do you have goals for yourself? Right? So when I speak to the women out there, I ask them 5 things. And the 5 things I ask them, which was a little different than the men, is that tell me 5 things about yourself that you don't like. Because it's the easiest to say that things you don't like. They list these 5 things, I say, okay, the opposite 5 are true. And then when I look at the men, I say the same thing. But I say it in a different way. Tell me 5 things that you want in your life. And they'll list those 5 things. And then that's how I come together to make them understand that it doesn't matter what you think you're not capable of. If you believe in yourself and you're determined enough, you can find success and happiness, but you have to want it for yourself outside of what others can provide for you.
Man, hey, man, that's a great breakdown. I'm glad you broke that down, because it goes back to what we stated at the beginning of the episode, right? It all begins and ends in you. Again, you are the constant. So if and you said one thing that um I hope wasn't missed as we were speaking, and you said you have to identify. Again, goes right back to the discernment and the awareness. You have to realize, you have to acknowledge that you have, growing up to do. You have to acknowledge that you have something that you want to correct, or want to improve upon. And that's the first step, because if you think everything's perfect and you're, king, whoever, then you're never going to, again, if nothing changes, and you'll be stuck with the same results. And another thing you have to ask yourself, and I want to challenge every listener and viewer right now, if you're listening, to look in the mirror and ask yourself those 5 questions. Again, if you're a man, ask yourself, what 5 things do you want? And then if you're a woman, what 5 things do you not like about yourself? Because again, we can find tons of negatives. And then what I encourage the viewers to do is create affirmations that counter or balance what you don't like. And then same thing with the men, counteract with things that you might want. Hey, what 5 things do you not want in life? If you want a woman that's a homebody that cooks and cleans, say, hey, when you're actively dating and actively seeking out to date and build relationships, that should be the first red flag. I don't cook, I don't clean. That's what you said you don't want, right? So, or you said you wanted that. So, make sure you're stable and you're holding yourself accountable to your goals and your standards as well.
Yeah,
And
Daryl, and if I may add something as well, one thing I want to also add to those who are listening is when you stand in front of the mirror, what is it that you see and who is it that you see? When you answer those questions, the third question should be, if you're interested in a serious relationship, would you date the man version of you? Would you date the female version of you. Meaning, because you brought up a good point, right? If you don't cook, if you don't clean, if you're not emotionally available, if you're a cheater, if you're all these things, would you want your partner to be those things as well? If the answer is no, you have to change. That's one example I gave to someone I was working with. And I asked her the same question. I asked her, okay, tell me 5 things about, I asked her, tell me 5 things about yourself that you don't like. She listed them. I was like, so the opposite is true. And then I asked her, okay, tell me what kind of man would want a woman with those 5 things? She was like, I don't know. I was like, okay. Your son. She's like, yes. Would you want your son to bring home someone, a woman like you? She said no. I was like, aha. Every man that you want to enter your life is someone else's son. So if you're not good enough for your own child, what makes you think you're good enough for someone else's child? And that's how close to home I have to hit it with the men and women that I work with, especially the women.
I hope you guys just heard that. I hope you guys just tuned in again. Say that one more time, 'cause I don't think they were listening. I think they were listening, but I think, somebody had something in the microwave. Say that last part one more time.
Absolutely. I said to this person, detail the type of person that you are. Give me 5 things. And then give me the 5 things that are the men that you want. Now, the type of man that you want. What do you want the type of woman that you are? And then pause that. And then I said, if your son brought home the type of woman that you are, would you be happy? She said no. And then the question that we all should ask ourselves at this point, especially her, is that what makes you think you're good enough for someone else's child when you're not even good enough for your own? That where it cuts deep. If you wouldn't want your son to marry the 12-year-old version of you, then don't expect someone else's son to marry you or to bring you home, because you're not even good enough for the child that you brought into this world. So why do you think you're good enough for someone else's child?
Amen, amen. I hope you guys heard that. And that brings up a valid point of, again, we went back to talking about the wolves in sheep's clothing. And I think we do a lot of, with just social media in today's world, we do a lot of emulation. We emulate what we see on social media. You see the guy with the 6-pack abs and the Ferrari in the driveway, or you see the girl with, she always got her eyelashes done, nails did, toes did, all the colors matching, Louis Vuitton purse, and, strutting like Cardi B down the street. And it's like, I got to be like that. I got to be like them. And you fail to be your authentic self. And again, and then a lot of people don't think about that. Like you just said, we chase, what we say, humans chase what we can't have. A lot of people chase what they can't have or what they're not willing to have. And I heard a great sermon actually last night, and the preacher said, you can't accept the role without the responsibility. Again, you can't accept the role without the responsibility. And that goes right to what you said. So if your role is to be, I'm ready to have kids, or more kids, or have kids if you don't have kids, I'm ready to settle down and get married. Again, if you're not even good enough for your own child, then why would another person's son want to settle down with you? Again, why would you cannot accept the role of that and not accept the responsibility of needing to change.
And that's the thing, right? Like, you have people that they want to separate themselves from the responsibility, the accountability, right? When you have children in this world, and this is where it is difficult for the single parents, but this is where I coach the single parents, especially the single women who have children, especially if they have sons. I tell them, you are the first example of what a woman should be like to your son. And to the single fathers out there who have daughters, you're the first example of what a man should be like to a woman. Are you willing to set a high standard where most people don't make the mark? Or are you willing to just set a standard where it's like a curb, where everyone can step over that standard? Because if you set the standard low enough and everyone can cross it or meet it, then you're setting up your child for failure, because you don't want your child to grow up in the same situation that you grew up in. Right? Because a lot of people who are single parents. What were they before? They were a child of a single parent. So at what point does someone put up their hand and say, you know what, I'm going to be different, not only for myself, but for my child? I'm going to let my child know that, hey, it's not acceptable to accept this. It is acceptable to say that. And I'm going to be the living, walking, talking, breathing symbol of that. And that's where I coach parents the women who have children, because it's so important for them to understand that accountability and responsibility for not only their own lives, but how the children see the world is theirs.
I'm glad you said that. I'm really glad you said that because a lot of times when we're so focused on finding that, significant other, or, you're so focused on dating and trying to do your thing, a lot of times we forget about the children, or we forget about again, we're trying to accept that role without that responsibility, right? Um, I gotta find, how many people, how many women, single women you see on social media. I'm ready to find a man. I need a man. I'm single, y'all. I'm trying, who gon' who gonna take me out this weekend, or I need to find, I'm tired of these men. All the men are the same. You know that constant false narrative that I honestly think. I think I want to say one thing. I think you seek what you speak. Again, seek what you speak. And so if you tell yourself every day that all men are, worthless, they all the same, they all cheat, they all lie, they all abuse, they all use, that's exactly the men you're going to attract. But if you start to say to yourself, hey, there's some great men out there, I just have to put in the work and allow them to be found. And then to go back to what you said a little bit with the son uh, example, are you worthy of that man that you think you want? Again, I asked this question a couple of weeks ago, because it was actually in my own like I said, I'm a very transparent person, and it was about my own personal like dating experiences. And I asked a fellow podcaster of mine, I said, are you do you take God's time for granted, or are you wasting God's time? And the reason I said that is because a lot of times we ask for something, again, that we're not willing to accept. We're trying to accept the role that we see. You see the glittering glam on social media. Oh, she's fine, I want her. Or oh, he's fine, I want him. But are you even in a place to receive that? Or why would God bless you with that man if you're not even, you don't cook, you don't clean, you're, like you say, you're emotionally detached, you don't want to change, you don't want to communicate? Why would God waste his time why would that man waste his time to even look your direction? And that's not, I don't mean to say that to be snarky or rude, but and both ways, why would that dime piece, as we call them, why would she even let you take her to dinner? And that's not just, we're all human, and I don't, nobody's a false idol, and you don't want to put people on a pedestal, but at the same time, you have to realize that, again, you seek what you speak. And so if you're actively, it's like trying to spray, cologne on poop, right? If it's trash, it's still gonna stink. And a lot of people are trying to spray cologne on trash and let it sit in the sun, and then hope that somebody's gonna pick it up, and they're not gonna pick it up.
I agree. And I'll take it a little step further there on what you were saying, is that you're going to attract what you are, right? So men will approach and women accept, meaning that a man will go up to one girl, Jane, Judith, whomever, strike up a conversation and see if it goes anywhere. And then the woman, Jane or Judith, will accept and see if it goes anywhere. So the question, to your point, that a lot of people have to ask is, what type of person do you actually want? Tell me. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Give me 5 things of the type of person you want. And listen, this is what I break down. This is what I tell the woman. And applies to everybody that wants to date seriously. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't work with people that don't want to date seriously. If you're looking for casual sex, that's your thing. That's perfectly fine. But if you want to work with me and you're dating seriously, this is words of advice to you. Give me 5 things that you want in a person. 2 physical, 3 personality. List them. And then the next question I'm going to ask you is, where do you think you're going to find that person? That is one of the most difficult questions I can ever ask anyone, and here's why. Many people I work with, Terraine, have no idea where to find the person that they actually want. So if you don't know, I'll give you an example. So if I wanted to buy like a plate that had a gold trim, and I talked about this plate, I'm like, it's fancy, it's gonna look beautiful on my table, and all this. I'm just describing it, and it's the best plate in the world. And then you turn to me and say, okay, where are you gonna get it? I have no idea. You know what's gonna happen? I'm never gonna have the plate. Because I can talk about it, I know the features of it, I know how it look like, I know how beautiful it's gonna look in my home, but I have no idea where to find it. I don't know the store, I don't know the price, I don't know anything. That is dating in a nutshell. You don't know where to find the man, you don't know where to find the woman, you don't know the cost of being in a relationship with that person, and you don't know what you need to do to be able to afford to be in that type of relationship. And that's where it gets difficult. Everyone knows what they want, but no one knows where to find the person to give them what they want.
That's I'm glad you brought. I hope we just been dropping nuggets all night long, all episode long. I hope you guys heard that. A lot of people know what we want. And that's a separate, again, it takes a while to finally find what you want and know what you want. A lot of people don't even know that. But y'all, what he's saying is that's half the battle. That's like a small speck, a small percentage of the battle. So once you find that, okay, where are you going to get it? And that goes into my next thing I want to talk about that segues into it. And it's, a lot of times we look in all the wrong places, like you mentioned in the beginning of the episode. And the reason why, to your point, why we look in the wrong places, because we don't know where to look. And I will give the example of going on a vacation road trip without a GPS or map. I want to go to Tennessee. I got I'm going to Pigeon Forge. I'm going to the shops. I'm going to the Nike outlet. I got $1,000 to spend. I'm going to get me a new purse. I'm going to get me a couple pair of shoes. I'm going to ride the helicopter rides. I'm going to the new restaurant that's opened up. I'm going on the Ferris wheel. You got the whole vacation plan. You got your clothes packed. You got your car packed, full tank of gas. And you just start driving and you realize, I don't even have the directions. I didn't put the directions in my phone on my GPS. I don't even have a map. So now you're just driving and you turn on that road that you weren't supposed to turn on. And now you're stuck in an intersection and it's a road closed or it's a dead end. And now you're like trying to figure out, now I got to turn around. Now I got to get back on the highway. Now I got to do this. Then you're frustrated. Then you got to use the bathroom and you got to try to find the gas station. Then you got to ask for directions, and the whole experience is ruined. And now you're not even again, to this point, you're not even thinking about getting to Tennessee anymore. You're so pissed off that you don't know where you're going, and you had to have like 10 different pit stops to try to figure out how to even get back on the highway. And that's life in a nutshell again. And that's dating, as we're, constantly, spinning our wheels, and we have no idea how to even get to where we want to go. And so how do you, I'm pretty sure you have a lot of clients that you work with and women that you work with. And there's all of us, honestly, men and women, that's just a life experience for us humans. How do you help people kind of navigate where to find and narrow that down?
Well, if you look at the recent studies, I was reading an article maybe a couple of weeks ago, and the main source of dates is dating apps, right? They're becoming more and more popular. They're very convenient. There's a time where the workplace was top, and then you had school, and then you had all these other places. So the dating apps still is and probably will be the primary area to find dates and to find relationships because there are success there. So to find what you're looking for, it all depends on what it truly is that you are looking for. What is the vision for you? What is the vision for the relationship that you want? So the first step into finding the type of relationship that you want is to define it. I want a relationship that includes marriage and children. Perfect. How are you going to do that? That's a question you have to ask. I want a relationship that is just me and that person. We live together, happily ever after, on the way until the twilight of our life. Perfect. How is that going to happen? So, dating apps, in person, church is a good way. Singles ministry. I know I'm dating myself a little bit here if I mention singles ministry, but these are beautiful ways to find what you're looking for. But before you can find what you're looking for, you have to define what you're looking for, the outcome that you want, and the vision for it.
Amen, amen. And again, and I want to tell the viewers, it's a journey, y'all. A good book, Simon Sinek, The Infinite Game, and Start With Why, two great books. Because life's an infinite game. We're finite players in an infinite game, and what I mean by that is you're not gonna define all this and find the love of your life in an hour, right? Or in a day. You're not gonna wake up tomorrow. I was like, I listened to it, I got it. I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying? It's not Amazon Prime, right? It's not the 2-day shipping. Like, I found the girl, I got what I want. Here she is. She's on her way. She's gonna show up on my doorstep, ring the doorbell. I'm gonna look at her in my Ring camera and I'm be like, yep, I knew behind the shades and dark law, they said it, and I knew she'd come. You know, it's gonna take time and it's gonna take development. And I think you have to show yourself grace and be patient with your development. And I want to kind of talk about, I know you've had the same with your women you work with as well. How do you avoid those red flags and pitfalls when you're on that journey?
That's a good question. Red flags have to be something that you know ahead of time, right? The problem, I think, is people aren't available or they're not healed. So the red flags are a reminder of what is still maybe unresolved in your life. So you go from green to yellow to red. So what are green flags? Green flags are the things that you actually want. Is he employed? Is she nurturing? Things of that nature. Yellow flags may be something along the lines as well. I'm thinking about maybe owning a home together, but right now that's not on his radar. That may be a yellow flag, depending on where you want to go. And then a red flag would be that, okay, I want to build a future with this person, but he's not employed. And when he is employed, he has difficulty holding down a job. That is a red flag. The problem with identifying red flags is sometimes they get masked with or by potential. He is not able to find a job or hold a job, but he's always able to find a job, right? So you're looking at it as it's a red flag because someone that isn't able to keep a job is not stable. Do you want someone that you're connected with intimately, physically, financially to be unstable? Or no, you don't. But what you look at is, okay, he has a potential. Every time he loses a job, he finds another one. So I think one of the ways to make sure that we don't get blindsided by the red flags or we don't ignore them completely is to separate what the person is doing and what they have a potential to do. So in other words, does he demonstrate an ability to make me feel safe, make me feel special, make me feel inspired? make me feel motivated, make me feel loved in a world that is filled with what? A lot of unlove, a lot of chaos, versus the potential. I think he could do it. You know, sometimes he says, I love you, even though the behaviors don't match. Don't bet on potential, especially as we get older. Potential is good when you're in your 20s, 30s. Ladies, if a man comes to you and he's 40 and he's in his late 30s, 40s, and he's still selling you a dream, meaning that I'm going to be CEO one day. Okay, when? What are you doing today that's going to get you to be a CEO? Oh, I don't know. That's a red flag. And I think that's where a lot of women get confused, substituting potential for actually what they're able to output.
That's a great point. That actually, I believe it plagues a lot of people, including myself, with the potential because regardless of your religious background, just we're always taught to see the best in people, or we see it in sports, right? You see it in the drafts, right? They draft a rookie, you know, in college, the highest, ooh, we signed the number one player in the, how do you know he's the number one player going into college or going into the pros in whatever sport? Because of, again, the potential. Hey, well, he does this really well, against other high schoolers, but we're going to put him at one because his potential is he's going to make us millions of dollars and be one of the next Michael Jordan, or the next. It's two things that kills to me, and there's multiple things that kill, but two things that kill: potential and comparison. Again, potential and comparison, because again, we're always comparing the potential of what we have to what we could have. And that goes right to like the social media and the dating, and it goes right to the dating apps as well. You might swipe right on one. She's fine. She got you start talking to her. You got to start instant messaging, inbox, DM, whatever you want to call it. She's 20, 35, single, no kids, or he's, 38. He's a CEO already. And, he's got a nice car, nice house. And then, you get with, oh, he's an abuser, or he's a manipulator, or he's a liar. And then, or you might have the opposite side. You might have somebody that is working on himself and it's not the potential, but you already see it. But then you see the other guy that has maybe that better, more stable job, or he has, more materialistic things. And you say, well, maybe I should leave what I have for greener pastures. They always say grass isn't always greener on the other side. And so I want you to break down, that potential, because I think that, I think it's hard for both men and women, but especially I see it on both sides, but just specifically speaking for women, because, a lot of men don't really like, it's not to like go like bash women or anything. I love women, obviously, but a lot of men we don't really post social media when it comes to our feelings a lot. But I see a lot of posts like with women, like, they'll go on a date, or they'll be dating a guy for 2 months and they'll put it all over Facebook. They'll change their relationship status, post a bunch of pictures with him, and then a month later, all the pictures are deleted. And she's like, man, all men are the same, or my dating life sucks. And I think that has a direct reflection to the potential that they might have saw. So kind of break that down, and, how do you keep that in perspective?
Absolutely. So it's like the difference between attract and approach. Like women will attract, men will approach. So for the women out there, if they want children, their window is a little bit more narrow in comparison to a man, because they want to make sure that they're having children in a period that isn't considered geriatric pregnancy, which is 35 and older. So at a younger age than men, women have to have in their mind what type of lifestyle that they want to have. And that's where I feel a little bit bad for the women, because they have to mature at a faster rate, right? If they want to have children. So when it comes to potential, if you want a family, what is it that you need to raise that family? You need a source of income. You need a place to live. You need stability. Now, in general, men work jobs that earn them more money than the jobs that women work in general. So the women have to make sure that the man that they're going to plan this family with is stable, financially aware, and available to be someone that can conduct that household. Everyone else that doesn't need that, don't waste your time, ladies, because what's going to happen? They're going to waste your time. There was a friend of mine. She was dating someone for about 10 years, and this person never claimed her, meaning that it doesn't matter what they did together, she wasn't identified as his girlfriend. And I spoke to her about it, and I coached her, and I told her what was going on. Eventually, she left. And then we worked together, and she established what she wanted. And a year or so afterwards, through the healing, becoming available, the understanding, she found someone else, which is a totally different relationship. They spend time together. They're looking to get a house together. Totally different scenario. She went from the potential in her mind, because that's where the potential starts, right? The potential is like, I feel he can do this. I feel he can do that. But has he demonstrated an ability to do it? Most times, the answer is no. So that's where I get them to understand that don't confuse the hope, the dream, the potential with the reality, because that's where you're going to get yourself in trouble, because what's in your head isn't what's real.
I'm glad you said you broke a lot of things down right there. The first thing you broke down is time, right? Again, he said that his friend was in the situationship what she thought in her mind, and that's why he said your mind is not always reality. In her mind, she's in a loving relationship for 10 years. Reality is like, to him, it's just, she's just a chick or she's just whatever. I want to tell the viewers the time does not always matter when it comes to dating relationships. You can think you know somebody or think you're in a certain situation for, again, he said his friend 10 years. But in reality, they were just like the couple in high school is kind of just texting over the phone and hanging out. She's just one of the guys, or we're just chilling. It's nothing serious, right? But what he said again is she changed her perspective. She changed her mindset. She found what she wanted, and she knew where to find it. And because of that, it took her less than 2 years to find the man that she had desired. And so I want to encourage the viewers and the listeners here today. I want to talk to the women out there, especially real quick. Don't lose hope. There's someone out there for you, but again, you have to first acknowledge, like we've spoken throughout this episode, acknowledge that you need to change. Develop the skill set necessary to find yourself first. Find yourself first. Again, because it all begins and ends in you. Once you find yourself, then find what you like and what you don't like, or what you're not willing to obtain or deal with, and then figure out where to find it. And once you put all that together, then you'll have an abundant life. But again, it's going to take a journey, and it's going to take a lot of hard work. Again, faith without work is dead faith. And so you don't want to, again, harp on having to focus on the 10-year potential when you have a 2-year result. Again, don't focus on 10 years of could be potential when you already have less than 2 years of proven results.
Absolutely. So you look at it like 10-year period. What could you have accomplished in a 10-year? You could have got a couple of degrees. You could have got a few jobs. You could have even saved up to even get a house. Right? And you raise a fantastic point when you said faith without works is dead, because that's what it is from a religious perspective. And this doesn't mean that there isn't hope for those who are looking for love and they've been unable to find it because they're always looking in all the wrong places. We're here to help you to find it in all the right places. But you have to be in the right place of mind to find love in the right place. Because if you're still broken, if you're still unhealed, if you're still unavailable, you're going to attract someone that is broken and unhealed and unavailable because they're going to mirror what you're putting out there. So the first step is please fix yourself. Identify what is it that you want, what is it that you want change, and make sure that if the male opposite of you or the female opposite of you were to approach you, would you desire that? If the answer is no, you still have work to do.
And I'll take it a step further. I know throughout the episode we've told you to kind of reflect and look in the mirror. I want you to look in the mirror as well and just ask this one question as we kind of wrap up here. Ask this one question. Do you really want what you say you want? And again, it goes back to what I said with, do you really value God's time? And, you don't have to necessarily be spiritual or be, religious. Think about it. Do you really want what you're putting out to the universe that you want? Do you really want what you speak every day? Do you really want what you see on social media or on the dating website? Is that dime? Do you really even want a dime piece? And again, like I mentioned earlier, are you willing to accept the responsibility for the role of having a dime piece or the man with the six pack and the six-figure job and the Ferrari in the driveway? If you're not willing to accept the role, if you're not willing to accept the responsibility of the role to fulfill that position, then you have to reevaluate what you actually want. And last thing I'll say on that is also when we're looking at social media or looking at the visual first layer, you're looking at the visual first layer of something. I could Photoshop a picture and, look like The Rock, right? And that's superficial. But you have to realize is the people with those six figures or that you're seeing on social media, a lot of that stuff is just a lot of that stuff's either rented or they're just showing it for the illusion that they have it. And two, you don't know what they did behind the scenes to actually achieve that or attain that. And so I definitely encourage all the viewers and listeners to look in the mirror and find out if you even want what you say you want. And be honest with yourself, because again, it all ends and begins with you. And so Terraine from Behind the Shades podcast, give some last minute tips and motivation that you would have for the women over 35 that are still looking for love.
Ladies, love doesn't have an expiry. You can find it at any age, despite what some people may tell you online. You can be 35, 45, 55. You can be 95 years. Love doesn't have an expiry. It all starts with you and your pursuit of it. So a few tips I would give is 1, find 5 things that you want in a partner. 2, physical. 3, personality. And then the second step is find out what that type of man that you now have created would want from you. And once you're able to identify the type of man that you want, and then identify what type of woman that he would want, then you're in a very good place to go out and find the love that you've been looking for and find it in all the right places, as you will no longer be searching for love in all the wrong places.
Awesome. And so for those of you that follow the Winner Circle, again, go ahead and follow and like first Behind the Shades podcast on all platforms. Also follow and like Verbal Teas, Successful Toy, Limitless Beauty Podcast, Breaking the Silence Podcast, Mahogany Speaks, and Real Talk Monday. Again, I hope that you take something that was resonated with you and apply it to your daily life. This has been episode 6 of the brand new Black Guarding Dating and Relationship series, releasing September of 2024. And I hope that you take something to, again, continue to become the best version of yourself and to decree the domain of your line. This has been Dark Law. with Terraine from Behind the Shades podcast out of Toronto, Ontario. Drake, Kendrick, Not Like Us, Canada. Until next time on the Creative Dominion, and thank you for joining us inside Black Garden. Thank you.